Hey, what's going on everyone? My name is Sean, and in today's video I'm very excited and happy to bring to you a subscriber showdown. And I'm going to be doing a 2 out of 3 match against KamaVonEnder. I was really excited to bring you this game here today because this is the way Yu-Gi-Oh! Has always and is intended to be played. This game was never designed to be played in single duels as we commonly do in the online ranked format of Legacy of the Duelist. You know, it's so refreshing to actually play a match as opposed to a single duel, because this is when you start to get to the real nitty gritty of the game, where you start to really see how deep this game can be in terms of decision making. And I love that. That's the kind of level which I'm at. That's the level of play I'm used to, and I think it's actually way more fun to be able to play matches as opposed to single games. It's because, you know, imagine trying to take 40 cards out of 10,000 and trying to say, okay, put 40 of the best cards together and you have one chance to win, good luck. That ain't gonna happen. You know, you need to be able to have some flexibility. And just like a real life sports team game like baseball or basketball, you need substitute players, you need to change your strategies on the fly, and you can't do that if you can only play it in one round, like you're in some kind of high school, not even high school, even like some kind of like primary school game where you're playing for 40 minutes at lunchtime. It's forgive my metaphor there, I don't know if that really makes sense, but what I'm just trying to say is that playing a match is the way the game has always been intended to play, and so by doing so today, it's going to provide me an opportunity to talk about this game in a way which I can't normally talk about. So, really excited to play that. And before I just get into the commentary for today's video, I just want to start off by saying that whenever I play a game with someone online that makes a request to play against me, I always ask, do you want to play casual or do you want to play competitively? And then I always ask, do you want to play single or do you want to play a match? And the reason why I always do this is because I want to try to tailor my efforts to make sure that both parties have fun. That is always the primary goal for me in Yu-Gi-Oh! This game can be very complicated, it can be very overwhelming, and sometimes you just don't understand what your opponent's doing. Even in high level competitive play, you can play against a deck like Salamangreat and be like, what are you doing right now? You're doing Reincarnate Summon? What is that? And yeah, but as long as both players are learning, and as long as both players are enjoying themselves as they do, they will come back and continue to play. And that is always my primary goal. It's always about getting people into the game, getting them to continue playing, and then hopefully they learn and develop their skills as they go along. So when I saw KamaVonEnder's deck, I kind of had mixed feelings about playing competitively with him. This is intended to be a competitive game, 2 out of 3 match by the way. And I had mixed feelings because I think it was, oh man, that deck is pretty thick. That is an extra thick deck there. He is playing 56 cards in total. And that is often the sign that my opponent is a beginner to the game. People that often play really big decks are people that have just overloaded it with too many cards that they thought are good, rather than try to cut it down and think what they actually just need. And so I am not going in as hard as I could with this combo. This is a very basic ORCUST combo, and so I've got my field spell Babble to make my monsters quick effects, and I've got infinite impermanence, and I've got Dingetsu on the board because Dingetsu protects my cards from destruction. And a lot of beginner players, they like cards like Dark Hole, Raigeki, Lightning Storm, and so on and so forth. So having Dingetsu is always nice to protect myself. But yeah. So, we'll get into the commentary now. KamaVonEnder has started his turn, and he has activated Zombie World. Zombie World is a field spell that has the effect of making all cards on the field and in both graveyards zombie cards, and it is the main field spell that is used in the zombie strategy. Very important to be able to turn your cards into opponent's cards into zombies. And now he's used Polymerization to fusion summon Dragon Necro Neversoul Dragon. Now, Dragon Necro Neversoul Dragon is a commonly used card, but it's often used in more injunction with Super Polymerization as opposed to regular Polymerization, because when you use this card with Super Poly and Zombie World, you can fuse your opponent's monsters and to make this monster instead. And then you also get to discard a card, so you can send a card to your graveyard in the efforts, which is what zombies want to do. They always want their cards to be in the graveyard. So I thought I was a little bit surprised that Super Polymerization was being, that regular Polymerization was being used here, I should say. And if you are going to try and build your own zombie deck, I definitely wouldn't recommend playing Poly. Definitely go for Super Poly if you're going to do any Polymerization at all. He now just used Unizombie's effect, and Unizombie has the ability to take a card from his deck and send it to the graveyard. And that's kind of just what zombies want to do. It is their own archetype based version of Foolish Burial, and getting cards to the graveyard is key to their strategy. So because of that, I chose to negate it with my Infinite Impermanence, so he couldn't do that. He now just attacked my Dingersu, Dragon Necro Soul, Never Soul Dragon, and this card has the attack where every time it attacks a monster, it will not destroy that monster by battle. Instead, it will turn that monster to 0 attack, which is convenient because my monster would have protected itself from destruction anyway. So by turning it to attack, he's now going to be able to attack over it with his Unizombie and do even more damage to me than he probably normally would have. So that's not a bad play, it's nice. Neversoul also has the ability to give itself a token, I believe. I would have to read that card again to remind myself. I'm not sure why he chose not to use it, but you know, it is what it is. And now KamaVonEnder flips over the card Rivalry of Warlords, and this is where I think, oh shit. Yeah, Rivalry, this is called the Rivalry Zombie World lock. Rivalry Zombie World is it's a common strategy. It's not a new one. It's a commonly used strategy in zombies where they basically try to lock you out of using your whole deck. And the way they do that is Rivalry of Warlords says both players can only control one type of monster. Now with Zombie World on the field, both of us have zombies on the field. I can't summon any monsters right now that isn't a zombie card, which means I can't go use my machine monsters. I can't get them back from the graveyard, I can't use them from my extra deck, and I need to find a way to get rid of Rivalry of Warlords or Zombie World in order to use my cards again. And so I'm now forced onto the back pedal, I'm forced to defend, and I'm not going to be able to summon anything until I lose all the cards in my field. And the fact that I've got Scrap Golem in my hand, the big old fridge in my hand, that I drew it early, the fact that I have that in my hand isn't helpful either because I can't use that card at all. You never ever want to draw Scrap Golem when you're playing Scrap ORCUST, so yeah, that really is unfortunate. So, KamaVonEnder has me on the back pedal here. He's definitely taking full control of this board here, and he is going to now attack into my ORCUST Nightmare. It won't be destroyed, and he will get a token equal to its attack, so he will get a token equal to 100 attack, which I guess he could use for resources, I suppose. And now he is going to pass over to me. Now this is actually a really, really bad situation for me, guys. I do have Spell and Trap Removal in my deck. I have Nightmare Phoenix in my extra deck, which I can't make because it is a Fiend type monster. I have Dingersu, which is a machine monster that I can't summon. I have, what else do I have in my extra deck? Nightmare Unicorn, which is also a Fiend monster. So I can't use my extra deck to get my outs. The only out that I have right now in my deck is Cosmic Cyclone. I play 3 Cosmic Cyclones in this build, but I've still got 30 cards in my deck. And so the chances of me drawing one of them, 3 out of 30, is, I guess that's 10%. It's not a really, really high chance that I'm going to get into it. And yeah, this is going to be really bad. Especially since now, KamaVonEnder has used Unizombie's effect to send Glow Up Bloom to the graveyard. And Glow Up Bloom has an effect where you can banish it from your graveyard and special summon one zombie monster that is level 5 or higher from your deck to the field if you have Zombie World on the field. And he has gone for their big boss monster, Doom King Balladrock. Doom King Balladrock is an insanely annoying monster to deal with. I'll talk about its effects as we go along, but it has got, what's that, 28 or is that 2600 attack? So it's no mean monster, and being a zombie, it's very, very easily recurable and it can come back to the field in many different ways. Now, this is going to really make things hard for me. There's Dragon Necro Soul effect again. What's going to happen now is, except for during the damage step, anytime a zombie monster's effect activates, Doom King Balladrock gets to do one of two things. It can either A, banish a card from the field or graveyard, or B, negate the effect that just activated. So that is really, really annoying to deal with, and it's going to be a very tough problem for me. He's now going to link away Doom King Balladrock and one of the tokens away from Vampire Sucker, and this is just going to get him more advantage and allow him to control the board a little bit more. You see, the way what Vampire Sucker does is anytime a zombie effect is now activated, you also get to draw one card. And that includes my cards as well, because they're all being treated as zombies, he's able to draw more cards. And here comes a really annoying part of Doom King Baladrock, and why this deck can be such an annoying deck to deal with for ORCUST. And that is because if there's a field spell on the field, that is whether I have one or he has one. If there's a field spell on the field, during the standby phase you can special summon this card in defense from your graveyard. And so he gets to bring back this card again and again and again, link summon it away, and then bring it back, and so he can still do stuff. Because a zombie was summoned, Vampire Sucker triggered, and because Vampire Sucker triggered, he now gets to use Doom King Baladrock's effect to banish one of my cards, so he gets rid of my Dingersu. I really need to draw into that Cosmic Cyclone, so I play Orchestrated Return, and I'm going to draw, and no charts at all. Now, because I have no monsters on the field, I can choose to summon a machine. I'm still able to do so, but I'm not really going to be able to do much, because once I put a machine on the field, it gets turned into a zombie, and I won't be able to summon anything else. So I have to play smart here. I have to play really careful. And the difficulty about doing all of this as well is he has Doom King Baladrock, and Baladrock has the ability to negate my effects. So if I'm going to stand a chart at all to turn the tide of this battle, I'm going to have to try and bait him out a little bit, and let's try and trick him. So first of all, I'm going to use ORCUST Nightmare. I have to choose one monster on the field to increase its attack, and then I get to send a monster from my deck to the graveyard, of which has a level that is a Dark Machine monster. It will then increase that monster's attack by that level. By that level times 100. Now, I did that purely because I wanted him to negate that effect with Doom King Baladrock, so that I can then go use World Legacy World 1's effect, which can summon back a card from my banished pile to the field that is an ORCUST monster. And so I'm able to now bring back my Dingersu, the ORCUST of the Evening Star. This is nice because when Dingersu is summoned, I can use this effect to send one card my opponent controls to the graveyard. And so, assuming that because he can't negate this, he can choose to banish my card, I'm going to be able to get rid of a card. And so finally, I'm able to get rid of that annoying Rivalry of Warlords. And so now I can continue my combos off a little bit. The downside, however, for this current situation is I can't actually summon my Quick Draw Synchron, which is what I would like to do right now, because once you use an ORCUST monster's effect, you cannot summon any other monster but Dark Machine monsters for the rest of the turn. So he is a Wind Machine monster, so I can't use him until the next turn. So I have to hope that I can survive the next turn or so, and that way I can then try to maybe make something happen and start to summon some of my monsters. Ideally, what I want to do is summon Quick Draw Synchron, send that World Legacy World 1 to the graveyard, and get more cards back from my banished pile. That would be the ideal thing to do in this situation. And of course, if he summons a couple of monsters, 5 or more, I can always bury him as well, so, you know. So it's okay, we're not in a terrible situation here. KamaVonEnder starts his turn here with Foolish Burial, and he's going to send another Glow Up Bloom to the graveyard. And this is going to be really painful to deal with because, as far as I remember, Doom King Baladrock is, I can't remember, it is a hard once per turn, so having multiple copies of the field doesn't mean you get multiple copies of their effects, but either way, he's still able to trigger his zombie's effect, and so he's going to get another opportunity to banish one of my cards. So most likely, goodbye Dingersu, and that's going to go away for the time being. And now I'm in a lot of trouble here. I am in game winning position. He has a monster with 3,000 attack, a monster with 2,800, that's 5,800, and a monster with 1,600 attack. So in total, that is, add 200, 6,000, 6,400 damage. And now he's just summoned another Doom King Baladrock on the field. That's another 2,800 damage. That's another 8,000, 9,200 damage, I believe. Yep, 9,200 damage. And that is way more damage than I can afford to take. And he's not going to summon any more monsters, so he's going to keep on attacking. And yeah, that is going to be game. Game 1 is going to be going to KamaVonEnder. Nothing I can really do. That Rivalry Zombie World lock is very, very painful to deal with. And something really fun to deal with is like one of the main, not one of the main, only win conditions of zombies, but it's a really good win condition for them to have. And so game 1 goes to KamaVonEnder. So what we're going to do now is, because we're playing a match, we're now going to go to side decking. And in side decking, normally in real life in Yu-Gi-Oh, you have 3 minutes to choose cards to swap between your main and side. I didn't know that in Legacy of the Duelist, they only limit you to 1 minute, so let me quickly talk about what I'm doing. Because I lost the last game, I know I'm going to be going first. So having hand traps isn't really going to be as useful because you don't really need to use them to react to your opponent's cards. And something like Nibiru isn't really good to use when I'm going first. So I'm taking out my Nibirus and I put in 3 copies of Twin Twister. Now along with the Cosmic Cyclone, this is going to increase the chances that I can draw into spell and trap removal, so I took them out. Now I'm panicking here a little bit because of the timer's gone. I didn't realize you only have 1 minute in this side deck, so I wasn't really prepared for that. And so the last card that I swapped in is I took out my Infinite Impermanences and I added in 3 DD Crow. DD Crow gives me just an extra bit of graveyard control, so between Twin Twister, I've got 6 cards in my main deck that can destroy back row removal with Twin Twister and Cosmic Cyclone. And as you can see, I just drew into a Cosmic Cyclone, so I'm feeling happy about that. And with Call by the Grave and DD Crow, I did have 6 cards which can banish cards from the graveyard, which can disrupt a zombie player's plays. So now that I'm going to go first, I summon Quick Draw Synchron, send in ORCUST Nightmare to the graveyard to be able to summon it to the field, and then I normal summon out our copy of ORCUST Symbol Skeleton. And we are now going to be able to make a link 2. And so I'm going to go into my deck a little bit deeper, and I'm going to summon out Crystron Halqifibrax. This is a card you've probably seen being used. Easily, Crystron Halqifibrax is one of the most competitively played cards in the game today. Easily right now, and has definitely had its impact in Legacy of the Duelist. I see a lot of people playing Halqifibrax combos in this game. But what it allows you to do is it allows you to summon a tuner monster from your deck when you link summon it. And fortunately, there is an ORCUST tuner monster called ORCUST Brass Bombard. I don't know why Konami decided to give ORCUST a link monster, not a link monster, a tuner monster. It's nice that we can do that, but we have no archetype based cards which are belong to the ORCUST archetype that are synchro monsters. So why there would be a synchro tuner in this deck, or just a tuner I should say, is a little bit bizarre. And you can do certain strategies if you want to, but yeah, it's not really relevant. Now, we see a card here that KamaVonEnder is using, that is Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion, and what has just happened is I tried to use the effect of Symbol Skeleton to summon Map My Nightmare, ORCUST Nightmare from my graveyard, but he negated it using Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion, which is really cool. Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion is a good anti-graveyard card to use, and one that is really good against strategies like ORCUST, because you can stop their plays. Fortunately, however, I have ORCUST Nightmare in grave, so I can still make some combos and go off. So I use ORCUST Nightmare to send World 1 to the graveyard, and then World 1 banish itself to summon back my ORCUST Nightmare to the field, and now I'm going to use my Needle Fiber and my ORCUST my ORCUST Brass Bombard to make my link to Galatea. Now my plan here at the moment is I need to set up for Rivalry of Warlords and Zombie World. Those are the 2 biggest threats. The monsters are really annoying, but the field spells are what stop me from playing. And so I need to make sure that he doesn't stop me from playing again. And so we are trying to set up our plays here. So what I've done here is we just shuffled in World 1 in order to get our field spell ORCUST. Why am I forgetting the name of all my cards today? I don't know why. I play ORCUST almost all the time. ORCUST. Oh, why have I forgotten? I forgot the name of my field spell. ORCUST Babel. Orchestrated Babel, of course. And to get that to the field, set it to the field, and now we have links overlaid Galatea to make Dingesu again. And we're going to attach our Symbol Skeleton from our banished pile onto our Dingesu. Now, when you're playing ORCUST, you do this because you want to set up for your following turn to have interaction. With the field spell, Orchestrated Babel, it turns all my monsters into quick effects, which means I can use them during my opponent's turn. And Symbol Skeleton means I can summon one of my monsters during my opponent's turn. Dingesu is the ideal target for that, so that I can summon Dingesu and then choose a card to send from the field to the graveyard that KamaVonEnder controls. So that's the plan here, that's what I'm going to do. I normally would go to IP Masquerena here, but for this situation, because I already drew my counter trap card, I'm actually going to play Galatea instead, because for me to use my counter trap, I must have an ORCUST Link monster on my field. Now, this here I think was a mistake, a small mistake, but a mistake. I didn't need to set my Cosmic Cyclone here. when you are playing when you're trying to counter someone's strategy, you want to always hold your cards and make sure they're not in a vulnerable position, so that when they ideally try to go for that strategy, you have the counter to it. And because lots of players like to play cards like Lightning Storm or back row removal, especially when you're going second, he might have actually been able to destroy all my spells and trap cards, and then I wouldn't have had my counter to one of his plays. But unfortunately, he doesn't see that KamaVonEnder has that, so a bit of a mistake there, but it's fine nonetheless. Now he uses Instant Fusion to summon out Thousand Eyes Restrict, and Thousand Eyes is going to try and take my Galatea. Now I have a decision here to make. Do I use my counter trap to negate Thousand Eyes, or do I let him take it and just keep ORCUST Crescendo overall? Well, I can't use Crescendo if I lose the Galatea, so I decided, okay, fine, I will negate the Thousand Eyes and banish it anyway, because I won't be able to use it if the Galatea is removed from the field. So, you know, not ideally what I want to negate with that, but, you know, it's fine. And so, we still get Galatea, and KamaVonEnder is at a set 1 monster, which is a good sign. If he's setting a monster, that means he can't really use it right now, so that's always good. And he sets 1 spell a trap card, 2 spells a trap card, and so I'm thinking, okay, one of those could be Rivalry. Now, Rivalry alone doesn't hurt me, because my deck is purely machine monsters except for a couple of cards in my extra deck, but it's the Rivalry and Zombie World together which really hurts. So before the end phase, we're going to use Symbol Skeleton's effect to Monster Reborn back one of our cards from my graveyard, so I'm going to go get my Dingyatsu. And like I said earlier, by summoning Dingyatsu, I'm going to be able to send one card from the field to the graveyard. So we're going to activate that effect, and let's see if Karma responds. Because it's the end phase, he can't activate his spells and traps because they were set this turn, and it's not the main phase anymore. And so, yeah, this is a very easy way to kind of disrupt the plays and set up for my next turn. Speaking of which, we're going to now use ORCUST Nightmare to send another ORCUST card from my deck to the graveyard, or another Dark Machine. But I'm not going to use the Cosmic Cyclone just yet. I want to know, because there's a chance of what the 2 cards could be, I want to know, or save that card for as long as I possibly can, to counter any really, really annoying cards that he might have. So, we use ORCUST Dingyatsu to send that card to the graveyard. I don't even know what that card was, to be honest with you. Remote something. Never seen it before. Actually, never seen that card before, so I couldn't tell you what it does, but it's fine, it's gone now. And now we use Galatea's effect to set 1 spell or trap card, so we go get our draw spell, Orchestrate to return from our deck to our hand, so we can dig into our deck deeper and get, hopefully, more copies of back row removal. And this is one of the main strategies when you are trying to use your side deck. The game is always about probability, and so in order for me to counter my strategy, my opponent's strategy here, I need to try and get to my back row removal faster than he can get to his key cards, so that I can interrupt his plays and he can't stop me. And so by increasing the numbers of spell and trap removal I have in my main deck, I'm increasing my number of counters for me to be able to carry his strategy. And so yeah, that's kind of just like one of the reasons why side decking is so important, because you get to be able to do things like this, where you get to say, okay, I don't want to deal with that strategy. Of course, your opponent can also conversely counter you by saying, okay, I think he's going to try and add back row removal to counter my back row cards, because that's what stopped him from winning last time. I'm going to take those out and add in more monsters that are really annoying. And so, you know, that's where the game gets really, really deep and starts to get more in depth, because that's the way the game is. It's really, really and it's the way I enjoy to play this game. It's so much more fun to be able to play it in this way. So what I'm doing here is I'm really just trying to continue to exert dominance over this board here. He hasn't activated Rivalry, so I'm not really too worried. He hasn't really tried to negate any of my cards, so I'm not really worried about what the face down cards are. I'm more actually concerned about what the face down monster is. So the thing about ORCUST and why I like this deck is that my main deck of ORCUST cards can deal with anything. Because Dingyatsu can send any card on the field to the graveyard, it doesn't target, I can deal with any simple threat as long as I can continue to summon my monsters. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm continuously trying to set up my graveyard with my monsters that I need in order to keep on summoning my monsters again and again and again and continue my loops. And so as long as I keep doing that, I should be in a comfortable position. Just that on that card there, that is Jackpot 7. It is a fun card, and what that card, but very specific. What that card says is, if this card is sent to the graveyard by your opponent's card effect, you can banish it. If 3 Jackpot 7s are banished by this through this method, you win the duel. I've never ever seen anyone win with Jackpot 7, but when we had a conversation after, KamaVonEnder explained to me that he runs this card because he wants people to think twice about destroying his back row removal and to be a little bit more hesitant to go over after his spells and traps. And I actually gave him some advice after this and talked about other cards he could use similar to that kind of effect, like Waking the Dragon, which he could use to summon cards out from his extra deck and his main deck. But carrying on with commentary for the game, I've just made Appaloosa Bow the Goddess, and I've made this card because she can negate monster effects and their activations. And really, that's all I have to worry about right now. I might attack this monster and it might do something as a result of this battle phase. Like it might be a Pyramid Turtle or something like that. And I want to be able to shut it down so he can't get to access to his deck. So I want to have monster negation on the field. We're now going to use our ORCUST cards, and we're going to get Simple Skeleton to summon back Galatea. Galatea is going to hit the field, and I'm using Galatea to maintain resources, put cards back in my deck where I want them to be, so they can be sent to the graveyard again for ORCUST Nightmare. We now use World 1 to go and summon back ORCUST Nightmare, so that I can summon it to the field and then send it back to the graveyard, and then once it's in the graveyard I can send more monsters from my deck to the field. And yeah, we're just going to keep on doing this loop ad nauseum in order to keep a hold of resources. So we're going to go to battle phase here. We're going to attack with Appaloosa and see what that face down monster is. And it is Vampire Sorcerer. Vampire Sorcerer has an effect which can add a dark vampire monster or one vampire spell trap from your deck to your hand. And excuse me. This is where I started to realize where he's overloaded his deck with too many cards. Vampire Sorcerer is a zombie, but the vampire cards are kind of like their own mini archetype. They kind of work well together and not to say best with all the other zombie cards. While cards like Uni-Zombie and Mizuki can help the vampire archetype, the vampire archetype doesn't really help those cards back. So that's something which I wouldn't recommend playing if you're trying to play for the zombie world Baladruk style of play. So, but either way, we negated with Appaloosa, so it was destroyed by battle, and he couldn't use the effect nonetheless. And so he sets another monster, and he I think he's gonna pass. Yep, he's gonna pass there. And at this point, you know, I've really got control of the game here. I have so many resources available to me. I've got cards in my graveyard, cards in the field, cards in my extra deck here, and we are in practically just in-game winning position. So we drew into Mecha Phantom Beast Lion, going to normal summon that to the field, and then I'm going to consider using the effect of ORCUST Crescendo. ORCUST Crescendo, when it is in the graveyard, can allow us to add one Dark Machine monster from our deck to our hand. And so we are going to now search out the monster Gizmek Orochi, the Serpentine Sky Slasher. This is going to allow us to do something cool in a minute, but we won't do it just yet. First, we are going to summon another copy of Dingersu, our last copy of Dingersu in our extra deck, summon it to the field, and really, if all things go well, this should be our game winning position. I don't think that that card in his hand is anything to worry about. And if it's a monster effect, I have Appaloosa, and the card on the field is a monster, so I also have Appaloosa that can negate that. So I'm not really too worried about that. So we'll send it to the graveyard with Dingersu's effect, and it will go. And so we'll now see that it is Mizuki, which is cool. Mizuki is their monster reborn, but not going to do anything right now. And so we're going to attack directly. We're going to do 2,600 damage with Dingersu. We're then going to do 600 damage with Lion, and then we're going to do 1,600 damage with Appaloosa, making that we are 400 damage, 400 life points short. But instead, I'm just going to use Gizmek Orochi's effect. We banish 8 cards from the top of our deck and summon it to the field, and that is going to be able to attack the game and do another 2,450 damage directly. And that is going to take round 2, bringing both me and KamaVonEnder to 1 game apiece. So we are, yeah, it's going well so far, 1 game apiece, and so we're now going to go back to our side deck. Now, in this point of view, again, this is where I really didn't like that we only had 1 minute, because it didn't give me enough time to think. But again, now I've got to think that my opponent is now going to force me to go second. So I'm going to take out some of the Hyper Extenders in my deck, take out the Scrap Golem, I'm going to take out the Mecha Phantom Beast Lion, because they might get my combo might get interrupted more likely if I go with second. So I want to play cards that break boards more, things like Pankratops. But it doesn't really matter here because I'm running out of time. I'm panicking here of what I want to choose, and I wanted to put in Mind Control, Impermanence back in, and then I actually pressed the options button here, so my deck went back to the state it was. So my side deck is exactly the same. My main deck is exactly the same as it was in the last game, which isn't always too bad. I still have my main deck removal, and that's the main counter I'm using against this strategy. So it's not the end of the world here, but ideally what I would have done is I would have put in more hand traps to interrupt his play on turn 1, and taking out stuff like my combo extenders like Scrap Golem, and maybe Jet Synchro could have taken that out, Phantom Beast Online taken that out, and have just more board breaking cards. And so I'm really disappointed because I've drawn this opening hand here and I don't have a single hand trap, and I'm thinking, oh my god, Legacy the Duelist, what are you doing? Why is the side deck timer only 1 limit? That is not enough time to go through your deck and check your ratios. You would have to practice in advance what you want to side deck out and practice using it here. And so yeah, I wasn't really happy with that. KamaVonEnder has set 3 and I have no back row removal, which really is unfortunate. And now he's used Shiranai Solitaire, which is another really good starter. It kind of works like Lone Fire Blossom. Excuse me 1 second. It works like Lone Fire Blossom, where you tribute and summon a zombie with 0 defense from your deck to the field, and then he special summons like Uni Zombie. And now he's got access to his main starter, so Uni Zombie is going to send any zombie card from his deck to the graveyard, and there's going to be either Necro or Banshee, or it's going to be Glow Up Bloom. Either way, we're going to be seeing either a Zombie World or a Doom King Balladrock. And it is Necro or Banshee, who has a quick effect. That is, you can banish this card from your graveyard, activate 1 Zombie World directly from your hand or deck. So, Zombie World is in play, and he's got 3 back row, and at this point I'm thinking, oh crap, if he's got Rivalry, I'm screwed. Yeah, Rivalry and Zombie World, it would really hurt right now, and I'm dying to draw some back row removal to kind of deal with this situation. He uses Zombie World's other effect, where you can discard 1 card to increase the level of 1 card on the field, and he discards, I believe that was a Doom King Balladrock, so he has got the key cards that he wants. He's got his main monster, he's got his field spell, and he's got 3 back rows, so we're going to be seeing the Doom King Balladrock be summoned in the standby phase, and we're going to go to my turn here, and we managed to draw into Orchestrated Return. Now, I do have Call by the Grave, so before the standby phase comes into play, I'm going to play Call by the Grave to target 1 card in his graveyard and banish it. So we are going to get rid of Doom King Balladrock and banish it. However, KamaVonEnder is going to counter with Solemn Judgment, paying half his life points to negate the activation of my spell. But fortunately, we drew multiple copies of Call by the Grave, so now we're going to activate another one, and we're going to try and manage that again. And let's see, does he have another Solemn Judgment to negate me? And he doesn't. So unfortunately, we have dealt with that threat for the time being. But if we don't get rid of this Unity Zombie, he will just get another one back. So first we're going to play Orchestrate Return. And we're going to send Symbol Skeleton to the graveyard, and we drew into Cosmic Cyclone. And now you can breathe a little bit easier, because I'm like, okay, cool. If he has got Rivalry, and we're going to test it now by summoning a monster, we have a way to counter Rivalry. So I normal summon Scrap Recycler, he doesn't activate anything in response. So we're going to start sending ORCUST to the graveyard. Now, I could extend, I could go for a Scrap combo here, where I could send I could have sent Jet Synchro to the graveyard and done a combo, and that would have allowed me to destroy more of his cards. However, if they got interrupted and I didn't have access to my ORCUST cards, I would not be able to have any follow-up plays afterwards. So I'm not messing around here. I'm just going straight into ORCUST, and we're going to make our play here. So first we're going to do Symbol Skeleton, and we're going to summon back ORCUST Nightmare, bring it to the field, and then we're going to get Scrap Recycler. And yeah, this is just a really good example of, you know, how probability works in Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm not winning this situation here because my cards are better or necessarily stronger than his. They are. ORCUST is a better engine than Zombies, but Zombies are pretty good too. But the only reason why I'm able to comfortably play this game right now is because I managed to draw into my outs, which are my back row removal, spell and trap removal. And yeah, if I wasn't able to draw into them, that would have been unfortunate for me. But because I'm able to use my side deck to increase the chances I had or spell a trap removal, I'm able to counter my opponent's strategy just a little bit better here. And that's where this heart of the game comes in and what you really want to do. So we've used some more of our ORCUST cards, send more cards to the graveyard. We're going to use Galatea to get the card from our deck. Ideally our field spells so our cards become quick effects. Always shuffle in the symbol skeleton. You always want Nightmare to go back into the graveyard, so ideally I try to get that card back with Dingersu or try to find another way around it. And so we're going to get Orchestrated Babble to the field, and then yeah, we'll see what happens. There's a lot of things I could do here, but we should be able to deal with Unizombie nonetheless. So Orchestrated Babble is now activated. I could summon Dingersu, which it looks like I'm going to do so, and yeah, it's always hard to decide whether you're going to either choose to attach a material from the banished pile or to send a card from the graveyard, from the field to the graveyard. When this deck had Harp Horror, it was so much easier to play this deck because you always had another way to get cards from your deck to the field, so it was never really a problem. So you could just constantly send cards with Dingersu, but now you always have to be careful and always make sure you have access to ORCUST Nightmare whenever you play this deck. But we are going to send a card from the field to the graveyard, so we're going to get rid of Zombie World. So that's another one of the key threats gone. And now we just have to worry about those two face down cards at the back. So we're going to go battle phase, and we're going to attack into Unizombie. And we're going to see if my opponent has a response at all. Even if he tried to destroy my monster, I would have, I think yes, it would have protected itself. And he doesn't have a response, so this is fine. Now, I'm not going to make the mistake I did last time and set the Cosmic Cyclone. This is going to stay in my hand until I'm ready to get rid of a card on the field. But first, we are going to banish World 1 to summon out a Nightmare. So Nightmare is on the field and ideally will easily go to the graveyard again, so we can use it again during my opponent's turn. And this time, we are now going to make our IP Masquerena, and I'm just checking what's underneath and checking what's in my graveyard. I don't have Symbol Skeleton, but I do have a Nightmare, so IP Masquerena is going to come to the field. And we're going to link away 2 non-link monsters to summon her. And this is going to allow us to form another form of interruption during my opponent's turn. And you'll see what that does in just a moment. So I'm going to do that. I have Ash Blossom in my hand. Gotta be careful because Ash Blossom is a zombie monster, so it will trigger things like Vampire Sucker or Ballad Rock. Not Vampire Sucker, well, if you summon her, but you're not really going to summon Ash. But yeah, you gotta be careful with her using Ash against zombies, but it's still a good card nonetheless because they want to send cards in the graveyard. And now in his standby phase, before he could do any summoning, I'm going to use Nightmare Effect and send Symbol Skeleton to the graveyard. So when I'm ready to do so, I can bring back one of my monsters from the graveyard and carry on doing cards plays for his turn. So we pass off to KamaVonEnder, and let's see what the card he just drew is. Let's see if he can use it at all. And well, let's see. He's deciding here, and he sets one card. And I believe at this point, actually, he was sending me a message saying GG. I think he at this point had felt like he wasn't going to be able to counter my strategies, and he is down to 2,700 life points. So I do have quite full control of the game. So I think this is when he had started to say, yo, good game and whatnot. And it was a really, really good game. It has been a really good game. So we're going to try and break his ball a little bit more. We're going to send one card from the field to the graveyard. And this is actually a mistake I made here. By sending a card from the field to the graveyard, I've actually just taken away my access to my ORCUST Nightmare. And I don't have a way to get it back right now. We sent Jackpot 7 to the graveyard, and I didn't use IP Masquerena's effect as well, which was stupid of me. We have Twin Twister drawn. Twin Twister's here, and it's been nice to draw that. And at this point, I'm feeling like, we've kind of got this in the bag. We're going to win here. And so, first of all, I actually forgot what my Instant Fusion target was in this deck. I wasn't sure if I was playing Thousand Eyes Restrict, but we do have Millennium Eyes Restrict, so we're going to summon out Millennium Eyes Restrict to the field, and then we are going to do some link summoning to kind of get rid of KamaVonEnder's final couple of cards here. And, but yeah, I actually remember that I made a misplay here, because I've actually locked myself out of my ORCUST engine, and if he did have a way to counter me, that could have been really, really bad, because I actually mismanaged my resources. So we're going to use IP Masquerena and Dingersu No, I'm going to use Dingesu. What do you want to do, Sean? There we go. IP Masquerena and Dingesu to summon out Nightmare Phoenix. By getting rid of my last ORCUST monster, I don't have access to my engine anymore. I was like, oh crap, that was a mistake. Nightmare Phoenix is coming to the field. We get to discard one card to destroy a card in the field, so we destroy Ash because we're not going to really need it. And then Jackpot 7 went to the graveyard, so there's 2 of those gone. But yeah, he hasn't got access to the third one, so we're not really too worried. And now what we're going to do here is we are going to make one more monster, Nightmare Unicorn. And Nightmare Unicorn is going to be able to shuffle in his last card back into his deck. So we've got a field completely wide open. And, sorry, I'm a little bit throat there. And yeah, this is going to be able to bounce a card back from this field to the back into the deck. And yeah, I mean, we've got full control of this game here. This game is going to go on a little bit longer because I'm not going to actually kill him this turn. But to be honest, for the most part, it is over. And I just want to say that, you know, this was a really, really good game for one of his first ever matches. And Kama's expressed to me that he's actually interested in trying to play IRL again. He wants to go back to locals once our COVID-19 lockdown is actually up a bit. You know, I was actually very, very proud of him. I'm actually very proud for what he was able to do here. He played really, really well. He just had some errors that he could easily touch upon. You know, the deck size is something which is needs to be corrected. He shouldn't be playing this many cards, especially cards he doesn't need. If his deck was a bit more, if he had trimmed it down a bit more, it was a bit more concise, this he would have drawn into the options that he needed. Things like Jackpot 7, I don't think you need in this deck at all. Things like the Vampire card, you don't really need at all. So I'd already made a suggestion to him, so there are things which he could do to improve there. I also gave him a couple of suggestions of cards which he could try to add to the deck. Alternatively, things like Super Poly instead of Polymerization. We're going to play Cosmic Cyclone and banish the final card here. It was not Jackpot 7, but if we banished Jackpot 7 here, it wouldn't have triggered its effect because it wasn't banished by its own effect, so it didn't really matter. And then we're going to go to attack directly. But I was really proud of him. I was really proud of KamaVonEnder. I thought he did very, very, very well for someone who really only got back into the game like about a month or so ago. So really good game to you, KamaVonEnder, and thank you so much for playing the match against me. And guys, if anybody else wants to be in a video and wants to play a match against me, feel free to do so. Hit me up on PSN, StandbyMain if you want to be in a video. I love playing games like this, and if you want to learn more, have like a private lesson, quote unquote, let me know, and I'll always be happy to share some experience of my time with you. Thank you guys for always watching this special video, and I'll see you soon. Take care.